It's just another TNA review.
Hey, I'm here with Taylor. Taylor, how you doing tonight?
Been better.
Been better. Yep. So we're doing our very second episode of TNA's Cheese Recap.
Yep.
Reviewing here with the Chargers. So tough loss again for the
Yeah.
Chiefs. Yes. As soon as I was watching the game, and as soon as the final score happened, I'm like, oh, Taylor's probably fuming right now. So the Chiefs starting off doing well. I think they fixed their previous mistakes from the past 2 weeks by going against that run game for the defense.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes is running the ball a little bit more for scrambling. They're in an empty formation, so there's no running back in the backfield. I thought that was interesting too. But they threw a pick on the first drive, a diving pick. I'm sure ESPN ate that alive on the highlight reel. 4 turnovers. Can't win a game with 4 turnovers. 33 first downs with 4 turnovers. Forcing the ball for another pick. Second week in a row, Mahomes has done that. But what are your thoughts overall on their offense performance?
I mean, I'm so indifferent on it because, like you said, 34 downs.
Yep, 33 first downs and 4 turnovers.
Yeah. The obvious. You can't win a game with 4 turnovers. You just can't, as Chiefs fans, I feel lucky that he was in a position to win the game. We shouldn't have been, especially with as good as a team that I think LA is. I think that they easily could have ran away with that and we just would have been screwed. But we got really lucky in the sense that our defense did play well. And I don't know, there's all these people out there that are saying that, the defense is the reason we lost again. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? In what world where the offense turns the ball over 4 times on their own side of the field is that blaming the defense? I don't understand. Do I think the defense still needs work? Absolutely. Are they still giving up big chunk plays? Absolutely. Are they still leaving guys like Mike Williams wide open? Absolutely. Is there still work to be done? Of course. But I think that you can't say that the defense is to blame for what happened on Sunday. And the offense obviously still scored points. We had a new face on the offense score the first touchdown. One of the guys that I really like from training camp, Jody Fortson, number 88. He had a fantastic touchdown, and that ball was only something that he could have caught in that moment. That ball was to him only, and he did fantastic. He just went up there and grabbed that thing, and it was awesome. There was definitely some positives, but at the same time, the Chiefs are literally beating themselves this last Sunday and then against the Ravens. We lost to the team we played, of course, but we literally beat ourselves. We turned the ball over 4 times against the Chargers, and was it twice or 3 times against the Ravens? That's unacceptable when you play good teams. You are gonna lose every time when you play good teams like that. So things that are definitely fixable, but at the same time, what is the cause of these? I think we can all look at the first one and see that the ball tipped Kemp's hands. He touched the ball, and he didn't catch it. Was it a little behind him? Maybe, I don't know if that's just a ball going to a guy that doesn't get enough reps, someone that was put in a situation he's never been in before. That pretty sure that was Kemp's first attempt, in an actual game, to have a ball like that. So I don't know what the problem was in that instance, but it's tough because it's do you get mad at the receiver? Do you get mad at Pat? I don't know, it's kind of both of their fault, I guess. And then also, again, giving credit to the Chargers because they were there. They made a great play. How many times have we seen that, not just with the Chiefs, but with any team, a tip ball that is an almost interception, So it's that very well could have hit the ground, but it didn't. The Chargers made a great play. So you got to give them credit. And they jumped on the Tyreek fumble, whatever that was. They jumped on the Clyde fumble, and they were there for the other interception from Pat as well. So, you can say, of course our offense made awful turnovers, but also the Chargers were there to get it, and we could have had a fifth turnover with Pat down at the end zone on the other side of the field. Like, he lost that ball, and luckily he was right there to get it. But we could have had 5 turnovers in the red zone, in the opposite side of the field, So I don't know. It's tough because, like, in the past, I would be so upset with these losses, and I'm not yet. I am not freaking out because I think these are fixable mistakes. I think if we just tighten up and we, kind of be more disciplined, I think that maybe these turnovers go away. But at the same time, like, we got to look in the mirror a little bit, and we got to realize, like I said, we're beating ourselves.
Yeah, and I think some teams are starting to recognize they're definitely scouting the Chiefs now because the Chargers, there was 32 seconds left on the clock. The Chiefs had one timeout left. Now, Patrick Mahomes and their offense, they can go down the whole field in 32 seconds with one timeout. That's very doable, but they had the guts to go for it anyway. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think they missed a couple field goals, but they still ended up scoring on them. But yeah, the fact that they're starting to get a little bit more confident in going against this defense and the offense, I don't know. They're struggling a little bit connecting, like you said, the passes. He's forcing a lot of passes, I think.
Yes.
Double coverage and then when he's getting tackled. And I wonder if that's who are they playing next?
We got Philly in Philly.
The Eagles, yes, that's right. And that's your head coach's old team, right, Andy Reid?
That's right. And so what is a funny I guess thought that a lot of people are having is, so Andy's next win for the Chiefs will be his 100th win, and he will be the first coach to have had 100 wins with 2 different franchises. So everybody's being funny, and they're like, "Oh, well, Andy's just saving his 100th win for Philly," and I'm like, I mean, it does make a good story, like,
it does. Yeah.
If you really want to look at it that way, I mean, sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to salvage the loss there.
But, well, that was like literally the first thing that everyone on Twitter was saying is like, oh, well, guys, don't you know he's just waiting to get that 100th win against Philly? And I'm like, all right, good point.
I heard that after the game, he was rushed to the hospital.
Yeah, so they say that it was out of precaution, thank God, and he's out now, and he was at Arrowhead today, but they said it was out of precaution and that he was dehydrated, and I will tell you, it was insanely hot out there on Sunday. Like, I mean, even being out in the stands, like, it was hot. I drank like 3 waters. Like, it was real hot for a September game, and I know from experience, too, that it is way hotter down in the field. Like, and I don't know, like, I know you don't really ever see like the coaches like stopping for a water break or whatever. Like, Andy is old and Andy probably should drink water, So I believe that he was definitely dehydrated. Like that makes sense to me. So yeah, they rushed him to the hospital, and they said he was in good spirits and everything. So I think he's fine. But I mean, definitely a scary scenario for sure. Even if it was just being precautionary.
Oh yeah, like with all the trainers and water that's down there, I'm surprised. I guess when the coaching, when he's stressed out, he's angry, he's sweating a lot, dehydrated. So you went to the game live, right? So were you high up or the mid, low?
Yeah. So our seats are up on the 3rd tier. We're almost to the 50 of the visitors side. So we are on the sunny side. So that's why I say I can attest it was definitely warm at the game for sure. I got sunburn all over my face and my neck. And it was hot for sure.
Now I can imagine the Chiefs, they always have good games. They're always close and competitive. I'm sure it's very fun to watch, but what was the crowd reaction after that final clock ran out? What was the reaction there?
Well, so let's kind of trail it back a little bit here because there was when the Chargers had the ball and they're going down the field, and we made decent stops on that last drive. So let me get back to the time frame here because it was like almost under a minute, and so I don't remember the exact like what the yardage was, but whatever that last play was, and they threw to the right side of the field. And it was DeAndre Baker making the play on the ball. And at least in person and afterwards, looking at the play, like I didn't see a pass interference. I really didn't. But they called the PI, and then of course they set the Chargers up for the go-ahead touchdown. Now I'm not saying that they wouldn't have got it anyways, but that was a fantastic, what should have been a stop from DeAndre Baker, which might have maybe forced them to do the field goal instead of going for it. And so I don't know. I thought it was a bad call there. So again, that gives them the go-ahead touchdown, gives us a little more than 30 seconds. So then when we get the ball back, of course it's like I'm in this like weird rut because I'm like, okay, like yes, we have Pat, and I'm like always convinced that we can win a game because we have Pat. Like that is very much the thought of like every Chiefs fan. Like it was crazy because after this touchdown was scored, there was a few people that were leaving because again we had like I think it was like 33 seconds, maybe 32 seconds left, and so a lot of people got up and left, but there was a lot of us that were still there. And so it's weird because if this was the Alex Smith days, the Trent Green days even, or any of those other slew of crappy quarterbacks that we had, like the entire stadium would have got up and left. Like there was no way that anybody would have thought that we could win the game. But having Pat, it was still mostly full. I'd say like 85% of the people were still there that are Chiefs fans. And so anyway, we get the ball and we start going down the field and we're making pretty good progress, but definitely not enough in enough time. And I don't remember if we had any timeouts left. Maybe one. But either way, that last play when it was the Hail Mary for the game, like in the moment when it was happening, like you could just hear the whole stadium like kind of disgruntled, like what like no call. But again, in real time, it's just so much harder to really see what's going on. And the stadium crew is very good about not showing us replays when they know that it's a bad scenario, something that like we'll get mad at. And so we didn't get a replay on the Hail Mary, but you could like my side of the stadium, it was over like right across from it. So it wasn't the closest end zone, it was the far end zone, far corner. So all we saw is a bunch of bodies, right? And we saw Travis fall. So we're like, okay, well, that should have been a PI. But we didn't see that the defender on Tyreek was literally like facing him the whole time. So we didn't realize how bad it was until afterwards. And so when my family and I get back to the car, of course, we're looking on social media and on Twitter is the picture of the Hail Mary and then the video of it. And like literally I just looked at it and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I mean, I hear a lot of people say like, oh, they referee those plays differently, right? Like they don't call them the same, which to me is like, is that in the rule book? Because it's not. Like, why is a Hail Mary called so much differently than any other play in football? Because if you go back and you watch that tape from that Hail Mary, there should have been 2 PIs on that play. They should have called one on the guy that was on Travis because he knocked him to the ground before the ball was even in the frame of that play. And then Tyreek's guy literally never even turned around. Like, there could have been 2 PIs on that play. And I'm not saying that means that the Chiefs automatically go on to win. And again, we never should have been in this instance. But like, I am such a firm believer that like on plays that can sway who wins the game, such as the Baker PI that they did call, and then the Hail Mary ones that they didn't call. Like, I hate that type of stuff. And I hate it for anybody. Like, you can ask probably every fan base except for the New England Patriots how they feel about the refs, and everybody would give you a scenario where they did or didn't win a game because of a bad call, And again, I don't want to get into the whole thing because it's like we had every opportunity to make that game more than what it was. Like, I don't know, don't turn the ball over 4 times. That would be a good start. But, just to be in that position and to think that we could have maybe had a chance, if they at least throw the PI, then maybe we get I don't even know what they do. I know we had a scenario like this with the Raiders quite a few years ago, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, where they literally had They called a PI as time was expiring, and the Raiders literally had like 4 chances to get in the end zone off of a PI call because we had it called like 4 times after time expired. So it just reminded me of that because I'm like, I don't know, if they make that call, we at least have 1 shot to get it in the end zone. And then if we do, then it's a tie ball game and then we're going into OT. So I don't know. I just I hate when the refs don't call a fair game or don't call the same call for both teams. You know, like if you're gonna make a crappy PI call, then you better make it for both teams. That's all I know. This sucks.
Yeah, a good game ending in a bad call is kind of frustrating. Even like even if my team wins, I like to win it like fair, equal. It just like what was it? The Raiders have a history of getting bad calls, especially during that Patriots Super Bowl game with Tom Brady. That cost them. But yeah, the Chiefs, with them, if they don't start playing with some consistency, and I don't know, are they going to have 3 losses in a row? What's going to happen now?
I don't know. I'm very optimistic because if you look back at our Super Bowl winning season, like we had a real rocky start. Now, and everybody will tell you, okay, well, that's the year that Pat was hurt. That was the year that we lost Tyreek for a couple games. And yes, you all are absolutely correct. But that is also not to say that we didn't lose at home to the Colts. I'm pretty sure that was a Sunday night game maybe that year. We lost to the Colts at home. It was a very low-scoring game. And yes, that was when Pat was hurt. Some with his foot or his ankle. It was his ankle that year. He hurt his ankle, so he was playing kind of bummy. And then we also lost to the Texans at home. They were back-to-back losses. So we've been here before. We have not been here in September, but we have been here before. So that's why I'm optimistic, because it's like you can't expect to win every game. And I realize that Pat kind of set us up for failure in that regard because he's the one that said in the offseason, like, oh, well, I want to go 20-0, which like everybody does, like that should have been like Mahomes wants to go 20-0. Like, no, everybody on every team should want to do that, be the first team to do that. Like, that would be awesome, of course, but also a very reaching goal, so I don't know. I think a lot of people are using that against us. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, the Broncos are 3-0. The Raiders are 3-0. And here's what I have to say to that, is that the Broncos have played. Do you know who the Broncos have played, Aaron?
Ooh, the Jaguars? I don't know. Yeah, the trash teams, I'm guessing.
Yes. So they played Jacksonville and then both New York teams. So I mean, you tell me, like, how many teams in the league would be 3-0 after playing those teams? Probably at least half, like, honestly, at least half. Or they should be. They should be. But a lot of people are saying, okay, well, yeah, we lost games in the Super Bowl year, but our division wasn't as good. And I agree. The division is way better. I think the Broncos are doing well with Teddy Bridgewater, but I also think they haven't played anybody. We'll see what happens when they actually play a good team. I don't know. Chiefs have came out and played 3 probably playoff teams, which is good. I would rather play good teams than bad, especially right out the gate, because that kind of lets you see where you're at, where you match up. So I'm not upset about who we've played, and I'm not upset about how we've played, because I think that having such close games in all 3 games and us still being in them, which with having so many mistakes, I think is very telling of how good our team actually can be when we clean up the mistakes. So to the people that are saying, oh, our division is better, I just think that you have to remember we all have to play one another. Like, the Chargers and the Chiefs are the only ones that have played each other yet. And I think I talked about this last time, and we all play each other from like the Thanksgiving weekend up until January. Like, that is when all of our games are. We all play each other in that chunk of time. So we play the Raiders twice, and the Broncos twice in that time frame. So you got to think about it. Somebody has to lose unless we tie, right? Which can happen. Probably won't, but it could. And so if someone has to lose those games, eventually, even the Broncos and the Raiders sitting at 3-0, their record is going to eventually even itself out, you know? And that's not to say that they don't lose to anybody else. Like, you and I both know how hard it is for teams to win in the National Football League. It is very difficult. So a lot of people think that the sky is falling because, oh, the Chiefs won a Super Bowl, and oh, the Chiefs only lost one game last year. And I'm like, yeah, but why are we freaking out? Like, if you look at the average like losses of the teams that make the Super Bowl, usually it's about 4 to 5 is about how many games they've lost on the season. So for people to be thinking that the sky is falling, for us starting out 1-2, I don't understand it. You know, I mean, if these were two, I don't know, both New York teams, okay, I might be thinking that the sky is falling. But it's not. We've played teams that I thoroughly believe are going to be in the playoffs. I think the Chargers make it. I mean, yes, our division is tough, but I think that Chargers team, if they can figure out ways to win like they did against us, that they will very well most likely be a wild card, because I still think that we take the division. And that's what's funny is people they don't know how to act. Like, we're at the bottom of the division and everybody's like, oh my God, these Chiefs suck. And I don't believe that.
No, people go off a record way too much. I mean, there were teams that were, I mean, you just have to do good enough to get in the playoffs. And
that's right.
That's where it really counts.
Yeah.
Because I think, I hate to use it as an example because I hate this team, but the Packers, they were losing when Aaron Rodgers got injured, and they were on a losing streak, but they ended up making the playoffs, and they beat my favorite team, the Bears, and they go on winning the Super Bowl that year.
Yep.
But I mean, or it could be the other side, like the '85 Bears. They were what, 13-1. They won the Super Bowl. It just depends. I mean, it's early on. It's only been 3 games. I mean, the Bears are doing terrible right now. As around their offense is so. I'm so disappointed in their offense right now, and it's
my God. I didn't realize, obviously what had happened in that game until after our game. And there's like on social media, the thing this week was Justin Tucker's field goal was more offense than you guys had all game, which is mind blowing. Like when I finally like sat down and saw what had happened, I was like, oh my God. And because Matt Nagy was our offensive coordinator, and so the whole reason that you guys went and picked up Matt Nagy was because he was a Chiefs offensive coordinator and he was this offensive guru. And I'm afraid if he doesn't figure out what he's doing with Fields, that he's going to be out of there by like week 6. Like, I mean, this is sad. And it's really like upsetting because like Fields is going to be very good. I don't know what Nagy's doing. I don't know what his game plan is. I mean, it's like he didn't even have one on Sunday. What was he trying to accomplish? I don't know.
Yeah, see, my coach always told me that defense wins games. Clearly, that's not always the case. See, when you go in, when you're 3-0, your defense works really hard to stop them. They go down the field, they're tired. Then the offense is telling you another 3-0, they're tired, another 3-0. It's just like when I was playing in college. Like, you can't have 3-outs. Your defense is tired.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you have Cleo Mag. It doesn't matter who's there. They're going to be tired. They're going to length of field. Then you're kind of hurting your defense.
Yeah,
at that point. And it's like, then they're going to get scored on. And then the offense, I don't know. The offensive line's not blocking. The QB's getting sacked. I don't know what it is. I mean, even like when we had Cutler, I mean, we were like, he was like bombing it downfield. He would throw picks to like triple coverage once in a while. But I mean, I felt more confident back, in the days when Cutler was playing than right now. Nagy, he's becoming he's just a huge disappointment right now. Like when he first got his first year, we were close to making the playoffs, except for that kick kind of ruined it. And then we had Trubisky, and then the next year, like, they're getting worse and progressively getting worse. And I'm like, I don't know, my wife turned the game off like halfway through. She went up to go cook dinner, and I'm like, or breakfast. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just finish watching this, and then it was just
Right.
like I wanted to turn it off. I'm like, I can't keep watching this. And I'm
Yeah.
getting angry. And yeah, I called my parents. They quit watching it after like the second quarter,
Right.
and I'm like, man, I mean, I just like because the Chiefs game was on at the same time, so I was recording
Right.
it. I'm like, I'm gonna switch back to the Chiefs game, and I saw
Yeah.
the Chiefs were. They was like, this is more entertaining than the Bears game. I'm gonna finish watching
Yeah.
this, and then the final score. I was very surprised. I thought the Chiefs might. They usually do some miracle kind of play because Patrick Mahomes is a magician. He usually
Right.
does something, but yeah, not this time. The Chargers went for it. Chiefs kind of blew it there at the end, but
Well,
yeah.
and another thing that actually one of my favorite talking heads kind of brought up the point it's Nick Wright, and he said something along the lines of like the Chiefs are making other teams better, or they're making like the NFL better as a whole because we are forcing teams to do things that they wouldn't usually do. And he used the example of the Ravens and the Chargers both going for it in instances that they might not ever really do if they weren't playing Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and the Chiefs. And so, he talked about how Harbaugh literally asked Jackson, like, hey, do you want to go for it? And he's like, yeah, we'll go for it. And then, of course, they go on to win the game. And then same thing with the Chargers. Like, in most of those instances, they're not going to go for it on 4th and 9. Like, they're just not, and mainly because it was a tied ball game. Right. So like, okay, well, if they don't go for it, then okay, big deal. We go into overtime. But these teams are, and I wouldn't even call it playing scared. I think it's more like, for one, they know they can do it on our defense. Like they know that they have a pretty good chance of making the play on our defense. So I don't want to say it's more of like a scare tactic of our offense, but more so that they are feeling comfortable enough to go for it against our D. But also keeping in the back of their mind, like, man, Pat Mahomes is over there. Like, if we don't score here, it's either going to be a tie and we go into overtime. And what if they get the ball and then they win? You know what I mean? Or like in the Ravens sense, it was to put the nail in the coffin, So it's like, I don't know. When I first heard him say it, I was like, oh my God. I was like, you're right. And a lot of people will say like, oh, that's like Chiefs fans being biased for thinking that they're like too good. And like, no, it's not, because in reality, if you think about it, if neither of those teams go for it, the Chiefs probably win both of those games, So it's like we're making them do things out of their comfort zone and making them do things to better themselves. And so maybe in an instance where they do have that with, I don't know, a team like the Buccaneers or the Rams or the Browns or whoever, maybe they go for it then and maybe they win another close game. Like, I don't know. I think he has a very valid point, and I really liked his take on that. And so I feel like it makes sense, It's like, okay, like if we don't do this, we might lose the game, or hey, it might end in a tie and then they win anyway. So I think it is forcing people to do things out of their comfort zone and push their team to be a little bit better. And honestly, I think he's right. I think it does make the NFL better as a whole, especially if they carry that on into the next game against another good opponent,
Oh yeah, they're taking risks. They're trying plays that they want to try. And if it pays off in hindsight, great. I mean, if it doesn't, then you might be in trouble. But
right.
I mean, it's clearly working right now. And I know the Chiefs, they got to fix up a few things on offense. The defense, they're picking up their run game well. They're gonna have to carry that over against the Eagles.
Right.
But hopefully the Bears just do a complete overhaul. I don't know, but Nagy, he's not doing it for me right now.
No.
No, he might go the route of Lovie Smith and just be gone.
Yeah.
I think if they don't make the playoffs again, yeah, they might be looking for a new one. But I don't know who would take over as Bears head coach. I have no idea. Because the defense, they've always been known to have very good defense, but their offense is always struggling. And I don't know. I don't know who would take over. Honestly, I mean, but then again, we waited to the Super Bowl with Rex Grossman. He was awful.
Right.
But the defense and special teams was good. We had Devin Hester, we had a really strong, we had Urlacher, a really strong defense. But we'll see. We'll see. Because my friend, he used to think just having a good QB wins games. That's not, now he knows that's not always the case.
Right.
With the Chiefs having a great QB like Patrick Mahomes, but they're studying film. They're watching what they're doing in the previous game, and they're like, okay, they're not utilizing his running. They're not picking up the run defense. We're going to run the ball more. So we just got to fix these little mistakes, and then we'll see. Bears got Lions next. You got Eagles. You think they're going to get their 100th win for the coach, or?
I mean, I feel like they have to. Like if they. And a lot of this goes with what Philly just showed against Dallas. Like, I mean, is there bright spots for Philly? Of course. I think when, like last night in their game, when they go no huddle and they just let Jalen go out there and, make the calls and adjust to what the defense is showing him, I think he does great. But when they actually go out there and try to run the plays, like it doesn't happen as easily for him. And like last night, they just couldn't get in the rhythm. So I think if our defense can come out and get them stopped right off the bat and like don't let them go out and score. Like that's what we have. I think I saw the stat. The Chiefs have let our opposing team score on every red zone trip they've had. We have had no red zone stops, none. So I think it's 11 is where we're at. 11 trips to the red zone for our opponent and 11 scores. So if we can eliminate that at all, and I'm talking like hold someone to a field goal if they get down in the red zone, I think that's a win for us. Like I think we have to obviously take away the turnovers on the offense, which we will and we can. Like again, we're beating ourselves. So if the Chiefs eliminate that, if we can stop the Eagles offense right out the gate, get a couple 3-and-outs. Don't let them go down in the red zone and score touchdowns. Like this is a young quarterback. I mean, I know he played a little bit last year, but a young quarterback and then a brand new coach. Like there's no reason we don't go out there and annihilate them. Like, I mean, I know it's going to be tough going there. I know it's going to be a lot of emotions with Andy, but he's already beaten the Eagles twice with the Chiefs, both having Alex Smith. So I don't know why we can't go out there and get it done with Pat. I mean, I just feel like it's the perfect solution, so to speak, for the Chiefs right now, because we need somebody that we can go out there and kind of bully a little bit. And I feel like, unfortunately, this Philly team is going to be that. I mean, I'm not saying they're not going to go out there and score. Of course they will. I think we might let them put up like 21, but as long as we can put up more, then that's all that matters. So I hope we make it out of there with a dub and Andy can get his 100th win against his old team. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, there would be. Well, that's all I got to cover. Do you have anything else you want to cover tonight about their performance?
I think that's about it.
Yeah, so nice. That was good. Well, thank you, Taylor. That was a very fun recap.
Yes.
So we'll meet again next week to discuss Chiefs and Eagles. Hopefully, it's a good outcome.
Yeah, hopefully I can talk to you about a W for once.
Yeah, that would be fun, interesting. But I don't know. We'll see. I hope they get the 100th win for Andy Reid. I'm not against either team, Chiefs or Eagles, but I would like for the Bears to get a win. The Lions.
I think y'all can do it against the Lions. Honestly, I mean.
With their 0-3, I think.
Yeah, I think y'all can do it against them.
Yeah, if we lose against them, then
then y'all might be in trouble.
Yeah, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Well, thank you, Taylor. It's been fun.